Andre's just pointed out a little covey of francolins. It seems to be making its way towards the lion. I'm not sure that they've managed to spot him yet. And an interesting question from Chris on Twitter. Have I had any close calls with lions? On Twitter, have I had any close calls with lions? Chris, I'm assuming you mean on foot around lions. They handed me the rifle and said, right, you carry it, let's see how you react. And they walked me into these young male lions. And the lions, I was, of course, terrified at this stage. I was totally clueless. I'd just come from the city, didn't know what was going on. The lions, the great terrifying king of the beasts, got up and ran away at high speed. The only thing I saw was the flick of a tail. So they didn't like being around us at all. And that, you know, is the general reaction of lions to people. It's not always a reaction. And some people had to stand down some nasty charges. But I've never had a particularly close call with lions. A couple with leopards, but not so much with lions. He's getting into a very peaceful state, it looks to me. His eyes closing. And the sun is starting to warm us all. Glorious morning. Crested barbets calling. Those francolins walked straight past him. They did notice him, looked and kind of just pressed on with their lives. Okay, so I'm just getting a bit of help from the final control, who've just checked up on our information on the Matimba males, who were first seen apparently in 2011. 6 of them. It's not unusual for them to fragment like this. I wonder where the others have gone. And apparently the oldest one then, in 2011, was 6. So that would put these guys sitting at around 10 if he is the oldest. I must say my initial impression of him was that he's younger than 10, but he could be 10. So some more great information from Georgianne in Illinois, who says that the snakebite information came from a ranger in the Manileti where they were first seen, and apparently it does heal and then he opens it again, or it opens again. It's a very interesting wound, actually. I mean, there's something funny with it. I suspect he plays quite a large part in keeping it open. It probably bugs him and just itches a bit, and so he keeps it open. He looks very at peace now from the slightly agitated calling that he was doing a bit earlier. Dr. Debbie, you want to know, basically, if he got into another fight, would another lion sort of notice the injury and then try to exploit it? Well, You know, these animals do notice weakness. There's no question that they like to go for the weaker animals in, say, a herd, or, you know, when they're preying on animals. So if he was obviously limping, I suspect absolutely he would be a more attractive target for young male lions coming into the area. So if he was obviously limping, I think they'll definitely notice condition. So if he looks like he's unhealthy and sick, then they will probably go for him. Oh, here we go. Give us a call. Come on, boy. Come on. How wonderful was that? Yeah. I'm sure, look, I don't know what kind of speakers you're all listening to this through, but I hope they're good ones. That rattled my rib cage. Hey, Chandra? Chandra is nodding with a grin on his face. It really does. It does rattle the ribs, and it's just you can't speak when they're calling like that. It's the most amazing sound. It fills the entire atmosphere. It echoes down through the drainage lines, through the leaves, and you could see the magnificent sort of condensation coming out of his mouth as he yelled. And I think he lay down like that, not because he was tired, but because it allows him to move his neck in parallel with his body. So it's probably easier lying down like that or standing up. And now he's listening for a response. It's quite late for him to be calling. Oh, it was just it's the most incredible primal sound. If ever there was an argument for investing in some spectacular speakers, that's it. Just for the chance to hear that. And it truly does fill the entire area. And now all we can hear the woodpeckers, the starlings in the distance, the old robin. Beautiful. So, some interesting debate. Well, first of all, Astralina reckons that he's a magnificent lion and better looking than his darker maned brother. His brother certainly has a more grizzled look about him, but I think that's probably got to do with the fact that his testosterone levels are probably a bit higher, and that's why he's got a darker mane. He's probably a bit more dominant than this fellow. Anyway, and then a nice question from Kevin. How long do I think a lion like this will live? Well, Kevin, I'm going to say that I think this lion is not quite 10. I'm going to stick my neck out at the risk of being pilloried on Twitter. I don't think he's quite 10 yet. He looks in too good a condition to be a 10-year-old to me. He's probably maybe 9. Kevin, 10 is a pretty average age for a male lion in this particular area. He might live, like I say, the oldest lion in the Sabi Sands ever recorded was about 16 or 17, and that was down on Sparta, near Londolozi. And I think that with the pressures that are being exerted by the Birmingham Lions, I think he'll be lucky to reach 12. It's not impossible that he'll reach 12. I don't know where the 6 of them to start with, and there are only 2 left now. I don't know where the rest of them are. But these guys need to stick together. If they want to ward off the threat of 5 young males, they're going to need to stick together. Initially, 2 big dominant males will fairly easily dispatch young males who are inexperienced and don't know what they're doing. But after a while, that pressure will start to tell, and those males will take over. So I think he'll be lucky to hit 12. But I might be wrong. So, Tula and Ellen, just about talking about the call and why he's calling. Did it seem distressed? No. Now, remember that a distressed lion will normally be distressed by the threat of other lions or other predators in the area. And so, if he was distressed, he wouldn't call. He'd try and hide. That's their big form of defense. He's now attracting attention to himself. He's advertising. That's a territorial call. He's saying, this is my land, this is my place. He's probably trying to contact advertisement for him. So he's not feeling in the least bit threatened at the moment. If he was feeling threatened, he wouldn't call. If he felt like he was in danger, he'd hide somewhere. That's basically what happens. So he's basically inviting conflict by saying, here I am. Just like most animals out here. So, for example, people say to me, or have asked me before, when there's a leopard walking along calling, they want to know, is he hunting? Is he hunting? And the question is obviously, no, he's not hunting. Why would he be shouting at whatever he's trying to catch? Likewise, a lion like this, if he's feeling threatened, well, he might be feeling threatened to the extent that he's saying, well, come on, guys, come and get me. Here I am. This is my area. But he's not feeling threatened enough to be distressed. If he was distressed and worried, he'd be disappearing into the drainage lines. He'd be hiding under a thicket, and he certainly wouldn't be making a noise like that. He's inviting conflict like that. If the 5 Birmingham males have decided that they really want to take over the area now, he's inviting them to come and say, he's saying basically, yeah, you want it, you come get it. Here I am. to call from the position that he's in now, because his his throat is obviously slightly twisted. The hyoid apparatus to call from the position that he's in now, because his his throat is obviously slightly twisted. The hyoid apparatus is twisted, and so his voice box, his larynx, won't move at the same, won't have the same range of movement as if he's straightened up and either standing or lying down like he is on his side. So I'm not sure of the physics. It is twisted, and so his voice box, his larynx, won't move at the same, won't have the same range of movement as if he's straightened up and either standing or lying down like he is on his side. So I'm not sure of the physics of the sound waves traveling through an area like this, and maybe whether the sound close to the ground like that doesn't help them to travel further. It may well. The proximity to the ground. So that's an interesting thought, Cindy. So, David in Michigan, you ask a question that doesn't have a simple answer. Sorry, we're going to head across. David, I'm going to come back to you. Jamie, I think, has just found a leopard. So we'll go across there and we'll see you just now.
Hi, guys. Sorry to grab you away all of a sudden. But we just had to show you Karula, and we have a huge thank you to make to Scott for finding her and wandering through this drainage line on foot until he got her. And she's actually got a kill. I haven't had a chance to see what it is just yet. Sorry guys, just bear with me 1 second. I'm going to leave you to watch her, and I'm just going to listen to the Game Drive channel. Haven't been able to see exactly what she's got. Looks like a small antelope. Yeah, stations. This Ingwe is now Lalapanzi here. She's got a bamba slightly east of that boer beam. Let me know when you're approaching, and I'll let you know when I have your audio. Stuff. And the call came through right as I was thinking about leaving the area, just because it is so very thick in this drainage line. You can actually see her plucking out the hair before she eats it. So, what an exciting morning. Looks like a little daker to me. Looks like a little daker to me. Steenbok looks to be. My mistake, thought it was a daker, it's actually a Steenbok. And I'm glad she was finally successful, because last time I saw her she was hunting. going to shift forward slightly, just so that Liam can maybe get around that guari bush. It is a bit of a tricky area to maneuver in. And I do have quite a large tree in front of me. I think that might be as good as it's going to get. Can hear, now we can start to hear the go-away birds that have finally so special to be able to follow her from yesterday afternoon when she was stalking something in that block to seeing her with this kill this morning. Definitely not where I was expecting to see her. She is much further south than I thought she would be, because when I left her last night she was moving generally north. I'm just scouting out various options, and unfortunately I don't think there are any apart from basically where we are. This drainage line is very steep, so not a bad visual, but unfortunately I don't think I can reposition us in any way. But I know that a lot of you are really thrilled to be seeing Karula, and so am I. And we must say a big thank you to Scott, and I'm sure you all will. He did wander through this drainage line and stay on the tracks and managed to. So an awesome start to the day. And you can see how incredibly easy it would be to miss her if you didn't know that she was there. This drainage line, she's quite hidden away, and she'll probably consume as much of this kill as she can now, and then depending on how much is left, for now she's going to stay on the ground and just eat as much as she can. Looking at them, they're not too serious. She isn't limping in any way, so I think they will heal up quickly. Clearly hampered her ability to hunt. And I think probably those injuries I don't think they were inflicted by another leopard.
It's a fishy though, it's a fish.
Ah, can you get it? Oh, fantastic spot. What if hunters are having success this morning? Brilliant. So that was really, really cool to see. Fantastic spot by the wildebeest, and he managed to keep track of it. So it's all happening in the early morning on Djuma Game Reserve in the Sabi Sands. And if you are joining us for the first time, this is live. So if you have any questions or you want to comment, please feel free to send them through on hashtag Safari Live on Twitter or to questions@wild. Even if they are more basic than the ones that some of the more regular viewers might be asking, we love answering your questions and we love hearing your feedback. So send us through your thoughts and feelings. We do have this wonderful female leopard Karula with her steenbok kill. So some interesting comparisons. Anna Marie, while we were talking about what she might do with this kill, Anna Marie said that she may hoist it up, but her daughter, Shadow, another female leopard in this area, doesn't seem to hoist her kills. Now, I've only been here for a couple of weeks, but I do know that Shadow does have a reputation for failing to put her kills up in trees and losing them to hyenas. And we did discuss quite a bit about whether or not Shadow has adopted a different approach. See what his best approach would be to come into the sighting. It's not the easiest position. So from where we saw her last night, we are south of that position, probably about 1.5 kilometers. And ironically enough, one of the closest roads is Ingwe Alley, which is named because of the frequency of leopard sightings that's on it. So Ingwe means leopard. I think that other game drive vehicle is going for a different approach. Not entirely sure where he went. He might be trying to get around down to the other side of the drainage line. So it is great to see her eating, and Kay and I are in agreement that she was looking a little bit thin and hungry yesterday afternoon when we saw her. And when we did see her yesterday, she was stalking through the bushes. So definitely, Kay, I agree with you. It is fantastic to see that she has eaten and she's got a meal, because she was looking hungry when I saw her yesterday. That flap of skin that they have around the back legs was starting to show quite clearly. So she was definitely in need of a good meal. And she's probably spent the hours between when we saw her stalking and now just trying to hunt and find an opportunity and an opening to get some food. So fantastic news that she has managed. And I'm really, really happy to see it. And it's also great to see that that injury on her leg and on her neck hasn't in any way impeded her hunting abilities. I can actually hear her crunching. Very much like to reposition myself at some point. However, it's going to take a lot of bumping around and some experimenting before I do that. So I might wait a little bit while we do have a good opening for her. So a little bit earlier, we saw that fish eagle that Wim spotted fly past, and he did a fantastic job of keeping up with it. And it had a fish in its claws. And we have a question from Morrison asking, how does a fish eagle land when it has a fish in its claws like that? And I have seen them land before with the fish. They kind of shifted more into one foot, and then they come into land and they keep the fish sort of between their foot and the branch, and use one foot for extra stability and the other foot for really keeping a grip on the fish. So that's generally how I've seen them do it. It isn't always the most graceful of landings, though. It can be quite fun to watch. So guys, I would like to find a nice way in. And before I reposition, and I will be sending you back to James while I do work my way around. However, before I do that, there was just one quick question from Jan about whether or not anybody knows for sure how Karula was injured, and we don't. It was picked up on by guides about a week ago, or maybe just over a week ago. They saw her crossing into Djuma, and they noticed the injury. And my suspicion, just looking at the wound, is that it was caused during a hunt, possibly if she tried to tackle something and it kicked her. It doesn't look to me like it was caused in a physical contact between another leopard. So I don't think she had a fight with another leopard. It is always a possibility, and there's no certainties, but that's just my personal opinion. And it's not uncommon for these cats to get injured, because obviously the prey animals do fight back. And it is unlikely that she would have been fighting with a male. So that's a possibility. The other possibility is that it was caused if hyenas tried to come and take her kill from her, something like a hyena coming in, especially if she's down on the ground like she is now. they might have come in and tried to get it. But that also is fairly unlikely because a leopard will be fairly quick on her feet and will choose to dash to safety. In 99% of the cases, she'll dash to safety and not try and defend her kill. So the hyenas probably didn't inflict that. I think it was something that she got while she was hunting. However, I want to get us a nice view of her, or at least try to. So I'm going to see if I can. I'm just going to maneuver around and experiment. In the meantime, I'm going to send you back to James with the lions. I know that I did interrupt him. So I will be back with you, hopefully with a really nice view of Karula.
Hello, everybody. Well, I am quite jealous that you've been looking at Queen Karula and her breakfast. We've been sitting here with a beautiful male lion. He hasn't called again, so you haven't missed anything here. But he's just basking now in the beautiful, warming light of this perfect winter's African day. We had a question just before you left me from David in Michigan. David, you wanted to know basically a few things around the calling, why he's not moving towards whatever he might be calling at or calling repeatedly. David, normally what they do is they call exactly like he did. First of all, it's quite late for him to be calling, so they normally do it at dawn or during the night. And they call like that, and then maybe half an hour later they call again, which is precisely what he did. And what that does, though, remember, he's calling to advertise territory. So he's not doing it to attract or to try and find something else. He's basically saying, this is where I am, and so stay away if you happen to be another lion. And he definitely was listening out to see if his brother called, or to see if someone else called. No one did. And so he's just calmed himself down. He'll probably go to sleep now. Now, when the females and prides are around, and I've heard males call, and I've seen males looking for them and failing to find them, the females often do not call back, especially if they're on a kill. They know he'll come and monopolize any kind of food source, and so they often won't call back. And I know that the tracks of the pride that we were following earlier, they haven't been found yet, but they are in and around this area somewhere. I don't think anyone's following up, so when we leave him, we'll probably see if we can go and find them. And I think that is the Styx pride that the guys said were on just south of Juma yesterday. You can see that injury there now. So, David, just to summarize quickly, they call like that as an advertisement for territory. Yes, to make contact sometimes, but if they know vaguely where the other animals are, they'll walk towards them and make a soft oh, oh, oh contact call rather than that great big territorial roar that he made. Very nice comment from Linda, who apparently left her computer on, and when the drive began and this great male lion started to call, she had to leap out of bed, rush towards her computer and turn it down for fear of being evicted. Linda, I'm so glad that you still find yourself with a home and somewhere to watch the wonderful safaris that we're able to bring you from the depths of the Kruger National Park here in South Africa. I'm most pleased you don't find yourself out on the street homeless. And then another question about the roaring and what its effect on potential prey items. It'll do two things. The roaring will certainly make animals more aware of where the lion is. So if they're in the immediate vicinity, they might back off a bit. But of course, once a prey species like an impala or a zebra or a wildebeest or a buffalo knows where the lion is, it's good for them, because then they can keep an eye and keep an ear on exactly his movements, and so they don't need to watch their backs too much. They know exactly where he is. Now that's why it just links into what I was saying earlier about how when animals are roaring like this, they're definitely not on the hunt. They're roaring in order to advertise territory, and I think the prey get a sense of that. You don't start hearing alarm calling from all around when a lion roars like that. It's because they know he's not on the hunt. Yes, of course, he'd take something if it stepped across his nose, but this kind of light, if he's roaring like that, I don't think it'll have a huge amount of, it won't make a huge difference to the prey that's hiding around here. Very nice question from Sarah in New York. Sarah, excellent. You want to know basically, can they identify each other from a call? Sarah, they can, Apparently, if you they've done experiments where they record a certain lion, take it into a different area, and they record males and females and different kinds, and absolutely the lions are able to distinguish. If they hear a strange lion being played back over a set of high-quality speakers, they'll come rushing in to try and defend the territory against the intruders. And likewise, if they hear lions that they know, they will generally just ignore them, ignore the calls, and carry on with whatever they're doing. So absolutely, very nice question there, Sarah. Thanks. Velma, you want to know when was the last time the two Matimba males were seen together? Well, Velma, we've just had a ranger in here from Chitwa, which is just to the south of Djuma, and he says that he saw them both together yesterday with the Styx Pride. So that would make sense for the tracks that we saw this morning. Styx Pride heading in here and somewhere around here, and this male obviously was with them. I wonder why he stopped. I mean, it's not unusual for the males and females to separate, but it's not that usual for the two males to separate. It might be that injury started to bug him again, and that's why he stopped moving. I'm not sure, but they were seen yesterday, so not long ago. Question from Football Expert: how many prides do the Matimbas have? I like that question because it indicates a great understanding of lions' social structures. So the prides, for those of you who don't know, a pride does not include the male. As Football Expert has realized, or knows, a pride is the females and their cubs, and these males, the Matimba, as far as I know, they dominate the Kahuma pride, which spends most of its time, or a lot of its time, on Djuma, a little bit to the east and a little bit to the north. And then they dominate the Styx pride as well, which is just to the south of Djuma most of the time, but sometimes they come on around the Twin Dams and Treehouse Dam areas, and then they come into Arathusa here as well. I think they may have some involvement with the pride further west of here, but I think it's mainly those two prides. And that would be about the right size for a coalition of two lions like this. The other thing was quite interesting, that the other ranger came in here and he told his guests that fight, that injury had come from a fight, and I don't particularly buy that argument. I'm not really sure. So there's obviously quite a lot of conjecture as to how he got that injury. something to think about. We're going to go across to Jamie now, but something to think about. An injury that's lasted a year like that would indicate that whatever it is, whatever the source of that swelling and that sort of bleeding and fairly infected area is probably still in there. Now, in the case of a snake bite, or in the case of an injury, say a claw mark or something like that, I suspect it would have healed by now or spread and hurt him quite badly. I think, this is my guess, that there's a thorn in that foot and that it hasn't come out. And I suspect that's why the swelling maintains around that localized area. I don't think it's causing infection in the rest of the body, but it's definitely localized in that one area, and I think it's perhaps a thorn that he's got in there and it won't come out. Anyway, we're going to go across to Jamie, who's repositioned with the magnificent Queen of Juma, and I'll see you a little bit later.
So guys, welcome back. I hope that you enjoyed your time with that Matimba male. And as you can see, we've shifted around a little bit to get a better view of Karula. We are perched on a veritable precipice right now. I've got my handbrake all the way up and the gears holding us in place. But we have managed to maneuver ourselves into a good position to have a look at her. And I know that you were chatting with a little bit about that Matimba male's foot. So we've got two slightly injured animals at the moment, but nothing too serious. But before I forget, I do have an update for you guys that I've caught over the Game Drive channel. And I know a lot of you are curious about the lion movements, so I just want to talk about that quickly before I forget. The Styx Pride were seen following that huge herd of buffalo that moved through on Torchwood. So they are around. I'm surprised they're up that far because I know that the Nkuhumas moved through that area. But by the sound of it, the Styx Pride are around and they're doing what we were talking about with those big herds of buffalo, just following behind and looking for a nice opportunity to snatch a kill. So that is where the Styx lions are at the moment, as far as I know. That was the update I was given. So they are around. And isn't it absolutely wonderful to sit with this incredibly beautiful girl and her Steenbok kill? And you can see she's absolutely ravenous. She has not stopped eating since we arrived. She was very, very hungry. And she's probably going to be finished this kill fairly quickly. She obviously was very hungry. And it's great that she's had an opportunity to get some food. Hair in the mouth. Not pleasant for her. She just wanted to get rid of that. So she's decided that she'd prefer to be more comfortable tucked away there. But you can see how quickly she's moved through that kill. That was almost a whole kill then. So the update from the Styx Pride, they are not on Juma. They are further east in Torchwood, as far as I understand, which is why I was quite surprised to hear that it was the Styx Pride. And it's something that I caught the tail end of a conversation. But interesting that the lions have done as we predicted they would and started following those buffalo herds. It's very tempting to go out and just hop out and remove that particular spiky bush that's in our way. So as I mentioned before, Scott was the one who actually went walking around and found Karula. And Miss Jin would like to know if anybody was walking with him or if he was alone when he was tracking. And he was alone. He was just wandering through, following up on the reports from another guide that had seen Karula a little bit earlier move into this block. And that particular guide decided he was going to leave. He'd had his sighting, so Scott went in afterwards and just went walking through this drainage line. And I think what actually led him to her was the call of a couple of grey go-away birds that he followed. And then he spotted her just a little bit to the west of us. So fantastic work from him, and we're very grateful. And I know I'm getting some updates, especially from Ellen, to say that Karula is a fantastic little hunter. She's very quick, very cool, very quiet, and very successful. So it's awesome to see that particular aspect of her personality in action. I did notice yesterday she went from walking sort of casually through the bush to hunt mode very, very quickly. So it's great to have you all on the back with us sending through your questions. And I'm so glad that we've got to share this update with you. And nice to see that from yesterday's hunting to this morning's successful kill, she is proving to be as efficient as always. Apparently, I'm meant to be looking for the pattern of spots that sort of spells out wow on her head. I think that was something that Georgianne sent through to me yesterday afternoon, and I didn't really get a chance to double check, so I'm trying to have a look now. Unfortunately, she's not exactly clear at the moment. Apparently she has an identifying spot pattern that spells out wow on her, I think it's on her forehead. I'm sure you guys will know. And the go-away bird's shouting again. There you can see that injury that I was talking about on the back right leg. I'm just trying to see, I'm going to grab my binoculars and just try and have a closer look. It doesn't look too serious. I mean, it looks uncomfortable, but not. So it looks to be healing over quite nicely. There's a lot of, it looks clean and healthy. There doesn't appear to be any infection. And I think that will heal up soon. And those grey go-away birds are shouting at something. I don't actually think it's her. They're a bit further away. Could be another bird of prey. Those of you might have heard about our cool sighting yesterday where a goshawk chased a francolin underneath the deck right in front of us while we were having lunch and a cup of tea. It was very, very exciting. And the poor francolin had a very lucky escape. And I imagine stayed under that deck for a considerable period of time, recovering. So it could be that the go-away birds are shouting at a bird of prey, because there are raptors that will target birds. You can hear that awesome scraping sound. And that's just her. It's just her scraping across the bones with those amazing molar teeth that form that scissor-like paring, just to strip that meat from the bone. So, thank you guys. It's great that you've confirmed for me, and from Sherry and Christy have both told me that it was correct, and it is the spot pattern across her forehead. Now, she has chosen this particular moment to tuck her head behind a series of bushes and dead grass, but when I do have a chance to look for that, I will. So thank you very, very much for that info. I really appreciate it. That was Sherry and Kirsty. You can see how easy it would be to miss a leopard if you weren't paying attention and you didn't stop to listen for the sounds of the bush. At the moment, her crunching might give her away. She is making a considerable amount of noise while she's chewing through this carcass, and I think it is just she is incredibly hungry. And leopards generally will be quite selective. They won't necessarily eat too many bones, but they might ingest the odd small end or something along those lines. One of the tiny bones will be swallowed. And sometimes you do see leopard scat that has turned a little bit whitish in color from the calcium, but very, very uncommon. Most of the time they will avoid the bones. And they're also quite picky about how much hair they eat. So she will pluck. We did see her a little bit earlier on just plucking out bits of the hair before she started to feed on this kill. And you saw that expression on her face a little bit earlier when she was trying to get the hair out of her mouth, how distasteful she found the whole thing. So she's been highly entertaining to watch. So the next few hours will play out a couple of different scenarios and interesting ones. This is not a particularly big kill, so she might be able to safely devour almost all of it before she decides to move on and before she gets interrupted. But Chris would like to know what animals will be first on the scene that might force a leopard to take a kill up a tree or to abandon it, and what will happen next in terms of her time spent with this kill. And Chris, the answer to that is it depends on whether or not she gets spotted, and that there's a little bit of luck involved in that. Hyenas could come through. They do have that incredible sense of smell, so they could pick up on it and potentially come down and have a look. I doubt it, though. I don't think that they are going to find her before she's finished up what's left of this. Often the first animals to be on the scene, either during a leopard kill when a leopard is feeding or once it's abandoned it, some of the first to arrive are the birds. So the raptors like battaliers and tawny eagles, they tend to fly quite low to the ground, much, much lower than vultures, and they move sort of underneath some of the tree line. And they've got incredibly good eyesight, so it means that they can spot these kills fairly quickly and move in, and they will definitely be among the first to scavenge from it. And then you've also got animals, some of the smaller scavengers, something like a jackal, a black-backed or a side-striped jackal that could come in and grab it. But again, it just very much depends on what is in the area right now and what is moving through this area a bit later. I think that with this particular kill, it is small and she is hungry. I think she'll have finished it by the time anything comes to potentially threaten her. But what we did see the other week, which was really, really interesting, was Tingana made a very large kill. He killed a kudu and he tucked it into a drainage line. And when Steph went back to look for him the next morning, he discovered that the Styx lion pride had actually kicked the leopard off the kill. So although it's very common to see it with hyenas and leopards, it is less common to see lions coming in and taking over a leopard kill. Just because usually there's, especially for the females, they tend to target these smaller antelope, and so there's not much left of it. But in this particular case, because the prey item was so large, the lions decided it was worthwhile. And you have to feel a little bit sorry for Tingana, who managed to take down a massive kudu and then almost immediately lost it to the lions. Although I think he did have at least some opportunity to feed from it. Something's caught her attention. She's suddenly very alert. And it always pays to be very vigilant, but whatever it was, wasn't too serious, so she's gone back to feeding. You can hear that serious crunching sound as she's breaking through into the carcass. And Jim would like to know whether or not leopards will eat the bone marrow. Hi Jim, welcome to the Sunrise Safari. I hope you are enjoying this particular view as much as I am. And to the best of my knowledge, they generally won't. Their teeth are not adapted for really crushing into the thicker bones where there is good bone marrow. So the leg bones mainly, the upper part of the femur or the humerus, they need to really be able to crush and break in there. And that is more the department of the hyenas. But maybe for a small kill like this, they would be able to break apart some of those larger bones and get into the bone marrow. So never say never, but it would be fairly unusual. And it typically isn't their approach to feeding. That is more the role of the hyenas that are adapted with that incredible jaw strength and teeth structure. One of our zoomies, and would like to know if I'm close or in and around the Buffelshoek area. And there's also a question about what the closest road is to her current location. And we're not in the Buffelshoek area. We are further south. We are further south from the Djuma Dam, probably about 1 kilometer or 2. And the closest road, we're basically in between two. We're in between Ingwe Alley and Pangolin, I think it's Pangolin Road or Pangolin Way. I've got the roads now, but I'm not exactly sure of their precise names. But that is roughly where we are. We are tucked away in this drainage line that runs between two roads. And very interesting that she has headed off in a completely different direction to what I was expecting her to do. So last night when I left her, she was north of the Djuma Dam, and she was mobile north. She was definitely moving very straight up towards the Buffelshoek cut line, which is why I started my search there this morning. But I mean, of course, as the wind shifts and changes direction, and as she attempts to move through the night and hunt and fails, she will have to keep moving to different areas to try and get a successful hunt. So obviously that's what happened. There's also always a chance that there was another leopard calling that either moved her in this direction or moved her away from a certain direction. And I did see fresh hyena tracks. Oh, the other thing that might have shifted her, now that I think about it, was those huge lion tracks that we saw on the road, basically where I saw her last night. So those Matimba males definitely moved through the area. They came south that way. And I think those are the ones, or at least one of them is with James at the moment. But I think they moved through that area, and there's a chance that she just decided, nope, I'm moving out of here, and I'm going to stay away from these lions. So it could be why she's here at the moment. But I hope that gives you guys a bit of an update on where exactly we are. So she is sitting now with quite a full belly, but I think she's at least halfway through that steenbok, probably a little bit more by now, and she has been eating almost from start to finish without stopping since we've seen her. So I think she's going to be finished this kill probably in the next hour or two, unless she stops for a break at some point, but I think she's almost through it already. And there will not be much left by this afternoon. We'll probably find that if we do return to this area for the sunset safari, she will have moved off, just because she's not going to hang around a kill that's finished, because its smell will attract other predators, and she doesn't need that kind of interference in her life. So once she's finished with this, she will probably head out, which is exactly what Shadow and Sindile did with their steenbok kill a couple of days ago. And so far, the two leopard kills that I've seen have been steenbok, which makes sense because both of the leopard sightings I've had with kills have been females. And typically, the females will target the much smaller prey items, and they can be up to 30 or 40 kilograms lighter than some of the biggest males. So she is a tiny female, and although she's a very efficient hunter, she won't be tackling the large kills like kudus, and probably would be staying well away from warthog as well. Never say never, but generally that is the domain of the really large male leopards. So yesterday there was a report that Shadow, Sindile and Tingana were sharing an impala kill to the south of our boundary. Oh, up she gets. And I think she might be done. So my predictions about when she was going to finish that carcass, I think she's pretty much through it already. She might be, this is where she was a little bit earlier with the kill, when she first started feeding. So she might be looking for any remaining scraps. But there we can see she's got a nice full belly now. Much, much better than when we saw her yesterday afternoon. When she does move across and into this block, there is no way that I can drive forwards to find her. So there is a good chance that she could vanish. I'm just having a post-meal wash. I'm going to struggle to stay with her because I'm going to have to extract myself from this precarious position that I'm in first. Always important to keep yourself clean after a meal. And very common to see predators and cats lick their paws before they get moving. Oh, no, she sat down. That's a good sign. I think she's just going to have a nice wash. And there she's giving us a good demonstration. I know there were lots of questions about how leopards groom themselves, and she's showing us perfectly. So licking her legs and her feet and then using it to wipe her face and just get the remnants of the kill away from her fur. Beautifully done. I can see that small injury on her neck. Also doesn't look too serious. This is the first time I've been able to have a good look at it. But it doesn't look too serious at all. And there you can see those amazing whiskers of hers catching the sun. And those are such incredible extensions of her sensory perception, and a great way to move around through this thick, thick vegetation on the blackest and darkest nights. Just a way of picking up when there's anything too close to the face and that might threaten something like an eye. So an integral part of her. She is clearly very meticulous about cleaning up after her meal. And this morning light is certainly very flattering. Oh, there I saw the wow on the forehead, and off she goes. She is going to disappear off into this bush, and unfortunately I'm not going to be able to follow her that way around. Okay, guys, so we're going to try and stay with her. It is going to be very, very tricky, but I am going to try and get out of this particular situation. So, but before we do, she's just finished off an entire steenbok in front of us. And Chris would like to know, when you have a small meal like that, when will she hunt again? And she could potentially even hunt again tonight or tomorrow, because she will digest that very rapidly, and leopards are opportunistic, and she didn't look completely full. So it could be in the next day or so, but at least she has had enough to sustain her. All right, I'm going to try and extract myself. It is going to be a little bit loud. We did come crashing through several bushes to get here.